For 22 years, the city of Cleveland has looked for a savior and to no avail. 7,898 days, 21 years, 7 months, 1 week, and 6 days ago, on a cool night in McKinney, Texas, a child was born. There were no wise men, but there was a golden leg, and on Sunday, in the midst of high drama at Bank of America Stadium, from the logo with the hopes and dreams of the faithful all the way, from Coshocton to Cuyahoga Falls, we were delivered! It was must-see TV when Cade York Peppermint Patty drills a 58-yard field goal to end the streak and give the Browns a huge opening day victory. And we break it all down for you next in our Week 1 recap. I have real concerns about this guy's mental fitness.
The Queen just died, and
Anthony Schwartz.
basically,
I don't think he dropped every ball at camp, but could come down to a Cade York field goal.
That would be nice.
Because he's must-see
What if
TV.
he hits a 70-yard?
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast. I'm Kenny Thunder alongside Red Hot Ronnie Jams, covering our Week 1 victory here with the Cleveland Browns.
Yep, and don't forget, everybody, you can find our podcast, the Burning River Sportscast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, Castro, and many, many more. All right.
Now we got that out of the way.
Let's get right into this.
How about the Browns?
Hell yeah!
We win an opening day game.
Cade York is must-see.
Must-see.
TV.
The most must-see superstar in the NFL.
There he goes.
Cade F. York. His middle name starts with F. I looked it all over. I couldn't find what it is because it's effing. Cade effing York.
Cade effing York.
No one knows what his middle name is, but his initial is F because he's Cade effing York.
Let's go. All right, let's jump into this. We're going to start on the Carolina side. Obviously, everybody was watching Baker Mayfield. So what did we learn in this game? We learned that there were so many balls deflected at the line for Baker. 5 of them, actually, and maybe they were correct. Maybe Baker Mayfield is too short.
Look, I don't know that it was necessarily Baker's too short, but it was certainly intentional, right? The game plan was for the D-line to get their mitts in the air. They knew that's something that he struggled with. And
it was almost like the defensive line knew he was too short to play.
It's like they've seen him before.
Yeah. So beyond the 5 deflected balls at the line, he also fumbled the ball 4 times.
Yeah, that was weird. Because I don't know that that's not something that, and they were mostly shotgun. Although there was one late in the game that he dropped just muffed under center.
Yep. So of the 4, I will say 3 of them were his fault. The other one, the center basically just rolled to him.
One of them hit him like in the head, like right in the face mask. I don't know what he was doing.
It wasn't good. So it got so bad in the first half for Carolina that Baker and the offense started getting booed with 11 minutes left in the second quarter.
Which, look, Baker or not, was kind of cheap from the Panthers fans because it would be like us just booing Deshaun in his first game back after 2 years.
Right.
Like, here's a guy new to town, picking up the offense, coming off an injury and a surgery, and they're struggling early on, and you're just booing him.
Did Carolina just expect to come out and be world beaters this
I don't.
year?
I don't.
They were the team to beat.
They
the NFL?
forgot who they were. I think. Yeah.
They are who we thought they were.
Temporary lapse of judgment, momentary insanity.
So again, booed with 11 minutes left in the second quarter, and then booed again at halftime. And if you watch the halftime show on CBS, there was some good clips in there. They were covering the Browns game, and Phil Simms actually said at halftime that Baker needs to take a Xanax.
Popping
He said,
Xannies.
He followed it up with, and I quote, "This dude's all over the place. Get him a gummy, JD." Not only that, from Quincy Avery, who, if you don't know, is the personal passing coach of Deshaun Watson, he tweeted, "That's the Baker we know and love." So some shots fired from Deshaun's camp for who knows what reason.
There were shots fired all. I mean, social media was an absolute cesspool for. I mean, this has just been such a polarizing, divisive issue for Browns fans, especially. I've never seen anything like it, and we've seen a ton of bad quarterbacks. We've seen a lot of position battles, a lot of head coaches, owners. Like, At no point have I ever seen anything that's divided our town quite like this.
No, it's pretty wild. But Baker must have been paying attention at halftime to his social media because he came out in the second half and played.
He found that chip on his shoulder.
He did. So while he still didn't get the job done when he was off the leash, he did go 16 of 27 for 235 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 4 fumbles. But he did play well in the second half, and he brought him back.
And he found himself on the ground a few times.
He did. We'll get to that. So
yeah, I think overall Baker. It's funny because I think watching that game, it was almost a microcosm of everything that we've seen over the last 4 years with Baker.
Right. It was like we replayed the entire 4 years in one single game.
There was some bad, some mediocre, some really good, and none of them were really a consistent theme throughout. But ultimately, I think he did his job, right? He had them in position to win the game. Had the big throw to Robbie Anderson to get him back into it. So, as much as social media was kind of all over him early on, I think as we watched the Panthers drive down the field there towards the end of the game, I think every butthole in Cleveland was probably puckered.
Oh, yeah.
Going,
I know mine was.
Like Baker's found it. This isn't good. He's into a rhythm. They're moving the ball.
It's literally what you come to expect from Baker, right? He has 3 really, really god-awful quarters, and then all of a sudden he puts it together for a minute, and just like that, you're back in the game.
Yeah.
So, besides Baker Mayfield, obviously we've covered Baker Mayfield beyond what we really needed to over the off season because we knew we were playing in week 1, leading up to the trade, all that good stuff. So let's move on. So
I'm excited to put the Baker Mayfield talk to bed.
Me too. So, next up for the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey was basically non-existent, and it wasn't his fault. It was play calling. They didn't even get him the ball.
Yeah, play calling was weird, right? I think we all expected them to come out and probably run the ball 30, 40 times just because.
But they didn't. They
get a new quarterback,
Christian
new
McCaffrey,
offense.
Specifically ran the ball 10 times for 33 yards.
Yes. I actually had in my game notes, just watching the game, that the biggest news on Panthers O to that point, which was just before halftime, was Christian McCaffrey's hairline. Really looking thin. Dude looking just like Prince Harry next in line for the throne.
Dang. Prince Harry, by the way, your dreams can come true. At 73 years old, he finally has his first job. So,
no, that's
never stop dreaming, guys.
That's Prince Charles. Prince Harry's the younger bald one.
He's more bald.
Kate Middleton.
Oh yeah. Well,
Pippa's the real star.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so CMC, like I said, 10 rushes, 33 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 24, so basically nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been injured so much in the last couple of years. I just don't know. I don't know what to expect from him the rest of the year. He obviously didn't show anything that special Sunday, but
yeah, it is what it is. So, and then Robbie Anderson, Kenny's impact player. Huge game, 5 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown.
He did show up. That was one of those lapses on the Browns side. Certainly, I think as a defensive back, you learn that in youth football, right? Deep is the deepest. Never let a ball go over your head.
That's like the number one thing.
But Robbie Anderson found his way back there and made the Browns pay. So unfortunate for us, and that was really probably the galvanizing moment, I think, for the Panthers towards the end of the game that said, like, okay, we're back. We can do this. We can get back in. So everything about that was bad.
It was bad. So that's the Carolina side. Their defense, didn't really do much. We didn't have. Not that our offense played great, but their defense didn't really do much to slow us down. So,
well, yeah, you look at the time of possession; it was 2-1 or more.
I've got it down here. Hang on.
Browns.
Yeah, so the time of possession, we have the Browns 38-26 and the Panthers 21-34.
They weren't stopping us; we were stopping us because, and we'll talk Jacoby here in a sec, but we just couldn't sustain anything.
Correct. So, on the Cleveland side of things, let's start with the offense. So Nick Chubb
looked faster than I've ever seen.
I would agree with that.
I don't know
a couple times he got out in space, and I was like, wait a second.
I literally texted you at the beginning after his first 3 runs, and I was like, he is so fast.
He really did look fast, and Chubb was just out there being Chubb. So, 22 carries, 141 yards.
Yeah.
In case anyone's keeping track, that's a 6.4 yard average.
Just a real professional effort there.
20-plus carries, he's averaging 6.4 yards.
He just runs so angry. It's so violent.
And the best part is they show him on the sideline, and he's just all business. Just
all business.
Serious face, not barking, not yelling at anybody. Just I'm Nick Chubb, and I run.
Speaking of mindset and focus, real quick, I don't want to belabor the Baker point, but I do think that had a lot to do with his slow start. I think Baker was trying to be something that he wasn't. I think he was trying to be calm, cool, collected. There were, sideline reporters kept remarking during the game that, Baker's just taking it one play at a time, and he's just even keeled. That's not Baker.
Do you remember the few times that he attempted to do that in Cleveland? Didn't work out for him.
Yeah, it's just not him. So I think that's probably what led to his slow start.
I thought you were ready to put the.
I am. I'm done. Bed. Baker's going to bed.
All right.
He's asleep.
So next up, Kareem Hunt. Let's pay the man. Give him an extension. Good Lord. We can win games with anyone under center as long as we have both these running backs.
Maybe, but it certainly helps.
It does help.
Certainly helps.
One big note for the game. I'm pretty sure Kevin Stefanski was listening to our podcast last week because we begged him.
You begged him.
I literally begged him to put Chubb and Hunt on the field together more often, and he did it.
Stefanski literally took your advice and put them on the field together.
I think in his post-game presser they asked him about it, and he said, I saw on the Burning River Sportscast,
Red Hot Ronnie Jams.
I heard Red Hot Ronnie Jams tell me, you just get on his knees and beg and say, Chubb and Hunt on the field together.
Gave him the blueprint. I was shocked to see that.
I was too.
When
We've only been asking for it for 2 years now. So.
And we saw it a little bit during the Freddie Kitchens era, but it hasn't been meaningful since then where they were on the field together at the same time.
No.
But I do think that it does add a dimension to the offense, especially with Jacoby back there, that you have both of them, the potential for runs from both of them, both adequate pass catchers out of the backfield. So you just have a ton of options. And I think they cut, Johnny Stanton was the fullback or whoever. So we don't really have a true fullback on the team. It makes sense to have at least Kareem Hunt back there. He's an adequate run blocker as well. So
right. And I know you remarked last week on the podcast, there's only one ball.
Only one ball.
But they have no idea who we're giving that ball to when both of them are back there.
Four balls between them.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We think.
So, anyways.
Allegedly.
Kareem Hunt, 11 rushes for 46 yards and a touchdown, and he added 4 catches for 24 yards and another touchdown.
Quick note on Kareem Hunt, because you said pay the man. Is he more valuable getting paid, re-signed, or is he more valuable as trade bait? We don't have any draft picks coming up.
I know, but I think that him and Chubb in the backfield together, even if they're not together, just the fact that we have both of them on our team, it gives you so much insurance that I think he's much more valuable on the team. That's just my opinion.
I wish that we could just mesh their names together into something cool, like
Hub,
Chunt.
That's starting to sound good. That is okay. So moving on here, we had DPJ. That was my impact player. He made some pretty big catches in the first half early on to sustain some of those scoring drives. And then he really came alive late in the fourth quarter. He had a big diving catch on third down, another big catch on the final drive that set up the field goal.
DPJ looked good. He was being mauled all game long and caught every ball in traffic. I think when you look at the way that Brissett was delivering the ball, a lot of them weren't great. There was a lot of low ducks and things, but he was snagging them.
There's 2 complete misses. We'll talk about that soon. So, but yeah, he was gobbling everything up and just he was a force out there.
For a guy that needed to have a good game, he showed up.
Well, last week I talked about setting the tone, and that's kind of what he did. I mean, if he's doing this every week, that's somebody that other defenses are going to have to watch.
And it's just nice to know. And obviously this is one game, right? He has to continue to do that. But if he does this all year long, we can feel really comfortable about having a solid number 2.
Right. We're not so panicked anymore.
Behind Amari.
Now, number 3,
which
is, by the way, DPJ, 6 catches, 60 yards, so solid. But the number 3, Anthony Schwartz, Kenny hates this guy, and for good reason. 2 drops in the first half. Can we just make this dude a running back? That
Look,
seems to be all he's good for.
I don't hate anyone. I just...
Except for Anthony Schwartz.
It would be like if I was doing a podcast and I was a mute. It's not a good skill set to have.
Should we give it a try? Go. You're right. This is bad.
Did the listeners enjoy that?
No.
Nobody
enjoyed that. The only good thing Anthony Schwartz did the entire game is he did have one big catch in the second half to keep a drive going.
He had one catch.
Oh, it was his only catch.
One catch in the game.
It was his only catch. So it was a big catch, but it was his only catch.
One catch, and he did. That was true. I wrote that down. Like, that was a big moment. That was a big conversion to get done.
It was helping us run clock.
One catch, 19 yards. He had 2 carries for 20.
I told you, let's make him a running back.
I don't disagree. I wrote that down too.
That's why we have 5 running backs on the roster. Because
now we have 6?
Felton's actually a receiver and Schwartz is actually a running back, so they just swap places.
I'm not ready to talk about Demetric Felton just yet.
Oh gosh.
But Anthony Schwartz, it was funny to me that they kept trying to get him on the end around because they want to get him involved because his speed is a weapon. But if
you ask me, so one-dimensional. What does Anthony Schwartz do? Well, they try and give him the ball in a reverse.
That's his play.
That's his MO, man.
The old 22 trap.
So, next up, we got Jacoby Brissett. Very, very underwhelming.
Underwhelming, for sure. I think he was, let's, be honest, he was what I expected.
He is who we thought he was.
He is who we thought he was. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the most mobile guy. He's relatively poised.
He got away from that one tackle in order to pick up a few yards. So did you see it? Yeah,
tremendous straight line speed. He got hawked down by a guy that probably weighed 400 pounds. I don't know who that guy was. He was a defensive tackle.
Nobody knows who that guy is.
He hawked him down. But he was a backup quarterback in the NFL. Yep. He was exactly what I thought he would be. He didn't make a lot of mistakes, which is good. We didn't turn the ball over. But he's just not able to make the big play when you need it.
No. So his stat line for the day, his underwhelming stat line, 18 of 34, so just above 50% there for 147 yards, piss poor. And 1 touchdown, and then 4 rushes for 10 yards. But as Kenny mentioned, he did protect the ball. And just a note here, Jacoby Brissett now has more Week 1 wins for Cleveland than Baker Mayfield.
There we go. I thought we were done talking about Baker.
I had to throw one more in there.
Here's the other thing that I would note about Jacoby in his first game out as a Brown. If the outcome was different, I think a lot of us are probably singing a different tune this week. If you put up that stat line and you lose to Baker Mayfield and this whole thing just falls apart, and
I 100% agree with that.
Everybody would have been like, I don't know if we can survive the next 10 games.
Somebody else is starting the home opener.
But because
fun stat, the Queen just died, and she was around for 59 starting quarterbacks for the Browns. She just missed number 60 in Jacoby Brissett, and if he would have lost this game, she would have missed 61 as well. Well, I mean, she's going to miss all the rest of the
fun stat. The Queen just died.
That's not a stat. But she was around for 59 quarterbacks.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So, man, 2 royal family references. Who are we?
We fought a war over this.
We cover the Browns. let's
and geopolitical conflicts.
No. And then finally for the Browns, we paid Njoku big money in the offseason. What did we pay him big money for? To get his first target with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter.
If he's going to have a 1,000-yard season, he has at least 993 yards to go.
His per-game average, he's going to need to pick it up. He now has 1 catch for 7 yards, in case anyone was curious.
This was one of the more shocking developments to me, just the fact that the tight ends were involved so little.
Yeah. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, you figured there's going to be dump-offs left and right. Nope.
And he probably needed to be honest.
Yeah.
Get that completion percentage up.
Yeah.
So that was a little shocking. I know Harrison Bryant got involved on a couple catches as well, but I think we need more out of Njoku. I think overall, when you look at the offensive game plan for the better part of 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, this was a good blueprint, right? Jacoby not making mistakes, doing just enough, and just running the rock. And they knew it was coming. The defense knew it was coming, but you were still able to get behind that offensive line and make things happen because Chubb just runs so angry, so violent, and Kareem Hunt is just an absolute stud.
Oh, yeah. So that's the offensive side of the ball for the Browns. On defense here, Myles Garrett really came alive in the second half, huh?
How about back-to-back sacks?
Hello,
Baker Mayfield.
He had 2 sacks on the game, and the first one, he absolutely ripped Baker. And then the second one was a little bit of a strip sack. Unfortunately, couldn't get the ball back. He had it in his hands and it popped out. But, back-to-back plays, and he made his presence known there. So
you feel bad when we talked about the rookie left tackle going up against Garrett. And you just feel for that guy because
especially in that series, he actually played a lot better throughout the game than I thought he would. So Myles Garrett's full stat line: 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits, and 1 deflected ball. That's a pretty good stat line. But that being said, that left tackle, being a rookie, played much better against Myles Garrett than I would have thought.
Yeah, I just think he's not going to see anybody that looks like Myles the rest of the year.
No.
So
on the other side, we had Clowney. He had two deflected passes early on, and it kind of set the tone. We came out, and it was that first drive. They were back-to-back plays, I think.
Big mitts. That was one of the things, too.
Or at least in the same series, I think it was.
That was one of the things that stuck out to me early on in this game, just in general. A lot of emotion going into this game. Everybody expected Baker, obviously, to bring that. I thought the Browns' defense especially did a tremendous job of matching that intensity, of matching the energy, coming out, deferring the kickoff, giving Baker the ball, and just coming out and absolutely just getting after him.
Yep. And then adding on to those deflected passes, Clowney also ended up with half a sack later on. He helped out John Johnson, I believe.
Get that full sack, Clowney.
So, and then next up, Grant Delpit with an interception. So that set up our first points of the game. That was a pretty big interception, a good play. For him, it was kind of gift wrap to him. Baker threw it directly at him.
That was a bad throw. That was the old Baker.
That was the one I was like, where was that going? And it was, the answer is directly into Grant Delpit's hands.
We've seen that before.
Yep. So, and then a couple other notes here: Tommy Togiai, John Johnson, Ronnie Harrison all got a half a sack each. And then the Browns did do a really great job of keeping Carolina in 3rd and long situations. I think that was a big reason why we ended up winning the game, is because they just made it so hard for them to convert. Average 3rd down yardage, 9+ yards.
Yeah, that's huge. Again, thinking about blueprint to success here, how do we make this sustainable? How do the Cleveland Browns continue to win football games over the next 10 weeks until Deshaun comes back? That's got to be a part of it, right? Keep the offense behind the sticks. Tremendous job there, just putting from pressure, coverage. Baker did them some favors too, dropping a couple snaps.
Well, that helps. That definitely helps.
So you lose it down there and you don't get to go anywhere. So
not to mention, even though we did say, the coaching staff for Carolina, for whatever reason, didn't give Christian McCaffrey the ball enough, when they did give it to him, he made some plays, but overall, we did a pretty good job of containing him. So
yeah, all over him. The run defense looked pretty stout. Really, the defense played pretty well outside of the busted coverage.
Well, and that's, everybody's going to gripe about that. I went into work this morning and people are telling me, well, their secondary was so bad. And I'm like, look, every team every week has 1 or 2 busted coverages. The offense on the other side has to take advantage of it, and Baker happened to do that. So, it makes them look bad, but really 2 busted coverages in one game, and that's pretty much all that they gave up was,
Well, what would Billy Bob Thornton say in Friday Night Lights?
What would he say?
Can you be perfect?
That's true. We weren't perfect.
We weren't perfect. We need to be perfect.
So
perfect Permian.
Those 2 busted coverages need to get down to 0. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, talking to you guys. Mostly Greg Newsome. He thought that safety was coming.
Outside of that, though, the defense played pretty well. And I think, again, just blueprint for success. Just got to eliminate the mistakes. I think it was early in the season. I think when the cameras panned over to the sideline, you saw Miles grabbing for air a few times, Clowney.
I feel like Miles, it's strange. That's almost a regular occurrence for him, though, like throughout the season. I think what you get is, I think Miles does occasionally take some plays off. But then when he goes hard, he goes hard.
When he wants to sack you twice in a row.
Yeah.
He can
then
do it.
Then he goes hard and he gets tired.
At will.
Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. The defense played overall, I think the defense played very well in this game.
A couple of weird penalties in this game on both sides. Early on, the roughing the passer, I think it was Taven Bryan maybe, or that got caught.
It was just a normal tackle.
Yeah, I'm not real sure how
they
else.
said that he drove his weight into him when they landed on the ground. But I mean, he literally just tackled him.
I mean, put yourself in the position of being a 6'3" or 6'4", 280-pound man that's horizontal in the air. Where are you going?
Let me just spin it midair and roll off of this guy so I don't land on him.
Where are you going?
Down. That's the answer. Down.
And then Jacoby, when he threw the punt in the air into the end zone and we got the PI, that was a huge play on a penalty.
That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen. I actually commented on it to my wife while we were watching the game. I said, look at this. He threw it so bad that the DB tackled our guy.
When he put that, I was like, I just closed my eyes. I couldn't even watch. I was like, what am I watching right now?
Well, luckily, the DB tackled our receiver.
I mean, bad job out of that guy.
Yeah.
He had so much time to reset himself and make a play on the ball.
Let me throw it straight up in the air, see what happens.
That was awful.
Yeah, that was bad. So those were bad. They also, I know all the Carolina fans are complaining and saying the roughing the passer call at the end of the game wasn't roughing the passer, the one they called against Carolina on Jacoby. I mean, it was. If you look at the rules, they hit him in the head and neck area. Like one of those. Whether we like the rule or not, it's pretty clear cut.
I think it was light. I think it was soft, especially at that point in the game. But hey, here's the thing: for 22 years, that call went against us, so I'll take it.
100%. And I would agree with you. It was probably pretty soft, but I think most calls in the NFL today are pretty soft. So
that's fair. Yeah. And then I think the other interesting one was at the very end of the game.
Oh, we definitely broke the rules. Yeah, we broke the rules. You are not allowed to fake spike and then spike it. That is intentional grounding 100%.
Yeah. And if that's the reason you lost the game,
I can't wait for the NFL to release their statement saying, yeah, we missed this one.
Combine that with the stat line. Like, if that was the reason you lost the game.
Jacoby. Like I said, we have a new starter for week 2.
Yeah, they would have just rolled out anybody. Anybody but Jacoby.
I'm available.
That would be on every bumper sticker.
I'm available. Red Hot Ronnie James coming in to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
That was, man.
That was bad. What was he doing?
I was going to stroke out.
What was he doing? All right, so that's kind of the offense and the defense. Now let's move on to the special teams. Cade
York!
Cade York, baby.
Cade effing York.
Listen, we drafted this guy, and this is exactly why you draft kickers.
So much talk around drafting a kicker 4th round. Don't do it. And the question is, like, then how do you find a kicker? I guess if not in the draft, but
look, if he's a sure thing, you draft him. And this guy, listen to the stat line in his first game of his career: 4 for 4 field goals, a game winner from 58 yards, and he breaks the streak for the Browns of opening day losses.
I think that was one of the last things we said on our opening podcast. It was that Cade York might.
Cade York is must-see TV.
No, not just that he might hit the game winner from deep.
Listen,
we said 70 yards.
We said 70. It was only 58, so
but
we were a little off. But
if they would have called the intentional grounding like they should have by rule,
would have been 70.
It would have been 70. Yeah. And let me tell you, that kick was good from Akron.
That
would have been good from 70.
It was like 3/4 of the way up the uprights. It was just
it had
easy. It was like routine for him.
It had just started its descent.
Yeah. He had another 20 yards in him easy.
That was a powerful, powerful kick.
Oh, just sending a message to the AFC North, like, If it comes down to a field goal, you guys are done.
And you just can't help but be anything but excited and happy for this guy. I think there were probably a 1,000 Cade York jerseys sold in the last 24 hours.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know why. Cade York Peppermint Patties all around, baby!
If York Peppermint Patties doesn't find this guy and run an ad campaign about how cold, I can't talk.
Cool.
How cold.
Are you ever going to say this?
How cool Cade York is. It's a disservice to mankind.
Oh, I would agree with that. Cade York.
Must-see TV.
Absolute
must-see TV. Super excited for him. That's the thing that worries me about kickers, though, is they fall out of favor so quickly. Like, we're all excited about Cade York today. I hope that when he misses a kick, like, the world doesn't come down on him.
I don't think it will. I mean, you don't spend a draft pick on a guy.
I don't know. Evan McPherson is like public enemy number 1 right now in Cincinnati, and he didn't turn the ball over 5 times.
See, I actually disagree with that. I mean, I know he missed. He really shanked that last one, but hey, laces out, man. Laces out. Everybody knows that. But yeah, Cade York, definitely must-see TV. We tried to tell you guys, and nobody listens.
Cade effing York.
He's the man.
I think I have to get myself a Cade York jersey.
I might. That might have done it.
You know, in most towns, everybody wears the quarterback jersey, and no one wants to wear a Deshaun jersey just with everything that's going on. But that's a jersey you can wear proudly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, we've been begging for a good kicker since Phil Dawson left. And
they ran that guy out of town.
You're right. I shouldn't say he left. They just got rid of him. We've been begging for a good kicker since then, and I think we finally found one. I know Kenny talked about him looking at the flags that Phil Dawson, put in the stadium in the offseason and learning how to kick in the wind and all this stuff. So I think we finally have a kicker with the leg that can really deliver some big kicks.
And that's the thing. We could probably talk all day about Cade York, but we shouldn't.
This is a long segment. But good Lord, I am excited about him.
The thing is, he has a leg. He has the leg talent, right? And he's young at 21 years old. He's only going to get more accurate.
Have you heard all the interviews, like with the players?
He's so good on a camera or on a mic.
Oh, but with the rest of the coaching staff and the players, they ask all these guys about Cade York, and they're like, this guy's just got dead eyes. He just comes in here. And all he worries about is kicking. You ask him what he's doing. I kick field goals.
He's a kicker, born to kick.
I kick field goals.
I think he has that tattoo on the back of his neck, born to kick.
I kick field goals.
I kick field goals.
Yeah, so that's all he does, and he doesn't worry about anything else. But anyways, we'll move on. We've spent a lot of time on Cade York.
Cade effing York.
Must-see TV. Cade York is must-see TV.
Peppermint Patties for everyone.
All right, so Bajorquez, he actually did a pretty good job keeping them in tough field position for the game. But he's a punter, so
I'm not talking about the punter.
But we will talk about Demetric Felton. He just a complete liability
from the very first kick, just iffy. The second one iffy, and then straight up muffs the third one.
I was worried right off the rip. I mean, the first punt to him, he literally fell down forward catching it, and he didn't even call a fair catch with probably 3 or 4 guys around him. And I was just like, what is? That's not good. And then he does it again. And then he does it again.
I almost wonder if he looks so uncomfortable back there. I almost wonder if it's a situation where obviously the running back room is deep. It's loaded. And Stefanski went to him and said, you're an athlete. We want to get you on the field. You're going to return kicks. And
you ever returned kicks before?
And I think it's one of those where, like, when your boss asks you to do something and you're like, I don't know how, or I don't want to, or I'm not good at that, but you just accept it and say yes. Like, he's probably I'm sure he has a positive attitude about it. He's excited that he gets to be a part of the game and wants to be on the field. Sure, coach, I'll do anything to help the team, but sometimes you're just not comfortable.
Yeah, quick story about my college football days at Mount Union. My sophomore season, they decided that they needed more kick returners. They put me in. A kickoff is fairly easy to catch. It's not that tough. A punt is hard to catch.
Much harder.
It's so bad. I lasted probably 40 minutes as a punt returner in college because I could not catch a punt to save my life.
It's not fun.
Oh, it is not fun at all, especially when those guys know how to kick well. And I'm guessing that's kind of what's going on with Demetric Felton right now. Is kind of what you said. They threw him in and they said, "You're going to be our kick returner because you're an athlete." And he's like,
Yeah, like you can't be honest, right? You can't be like, I don't know about that one, coach. You
like
just
how does it look if you just tell him no?
Hey, you're not on the team anymore, Demetric.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
absolute liability.
Stefanski came out today and said no plans to change direction there as of right now. So for now, he remains a liability.
Hopefully, they're seeing something we're not.
I don't know. They keep throwing the ball to Anthony Schwartz. So
well, there's that. So overall, this game was all about the Browns running backs. They ran the clock. They controlled the game. And then our defense, they bent a little bit at times. Obviously, the Panthers were able to get back into the game late, but overall, I think they got the stops when they needed to. So,
yeah, again, blueprint for success: control the clock, run the ball, don't turn it over, and the Browns are going to have to win ugly a lot this year.
Yeah, especially this first half.
Yeah, we talked about last
probably
week.
The first few games after Watson comes back too. So
just the Browns remaining buoyant. I mean, winning week 1 is a huge start because you can't take for granted any of the next 10 games.
Yeah, you predicted we would lose, so
yeah, I did.
Yeah, so winning week 1 is huge.
It's really big because you just don't know how many of those you're going to get over the next 10 weeks, right. And if you can remain semi. Just competitive.
Well, it's the old adage.
Until Deshaun
every
gets
win
back.
in the NFL is a win.
Is that an old adage?
I don't know. It is now. The other big notes from the game. Yeah, so some other big notes for the game. Like we had mentioned, CMC was held in check, 54 yards rushing. Anytime you hold CMC at 54 yards rushing, Carolina's probably losing that game. So, then we go down here. Total yards for the Browns, 355. Total yards for the Panthers, 261. We mentioned time of possession. Browns 38-26, Panthers 21-34. So, recipe for success. Control the running backs, controlling the ball, moving the ball, controlling the clock, and defense getting stops when they need to.
Here's the biggest thing.
What's the biggest thing?
26-24 Browns win week 1 for the first time since 2004.
That is the biggest thing. You know what's a bigger thing?
Oh, I'm scared.
Cade York, Peppermint Patties all around!
Peppermint Patties all around.
Let's go, Cade York.
Cade York, Peppermint Patties. Cade F.N. York.
All right, so around the AFC North, there were some wild things that happened around the AFC North.
Week 1 was weird.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the Steelers beat the Bengals in that wild overtime finish.
Joe Burrow was Oprah out there. Just, you get a turnover, you get a turnover, you get a turnover.
Oh, man. Not only did he have 4 interceptions, but he also lost a fumble. He fumbled it twice, but he lost one.
5 turnovers for the game.
Good Lord.
No one saw that coming, by the way. I mean,
no. All anybody talked about for the Bengals all offseason is how they... I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Burrow's not a good quarterback,
right.
But he had a terrible, terrible game. So you would have never guessed that coming out of the gates, he's just 5 turnovers and they lose to the lowly Steelers who are in full rebuild mode.
No, not at all. I mean, he was the darling of the offseason because of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then other big notes in that game... for the Steelers, they limped to the finish line. T.J. Watt, potentially done for the year with a torn pec. He's out there getting second opinions right now, but I don't really know what the second opinion on a torn pec is. Yep, still torn.
Still torn.
So T.J., obviously his brother, J.J. Watt, had a torn pec in his career, and he actually was able to come back in like 3 months. So we might still see T.J. later this year.
Christmas.
But I mean, yeah, he's missing significant time.
Can we say Christmas, or is it like holiday festival time?
We might see him around Christmas. So, and then Najee Harris, he said he was over his foot injury. He had that Liz Frank thing going on. But, the fourth quarter, foot injury, I believe it was the same foot. You see him walking in a boot after the game. So those are huge losses. I mean, that's basically the Steelers' best 2 players, right?
But they still won, and...
I don't know.
Mike Tomlin just...
Evan McPherson.
That team scares me.
Evan McPherson.
They just find ways to win.
They do. Mike Tomlin is a great coach. I mean, as much as we all hate the Steelers.
Oh, I hate the Steelers.
F those guys.
If you're from Pittsburgh, F you.
Yeah.
All
of you.
All of take your yinzen and yachts
take your yins and yangs and get out of here.
Get out of here, yinzers.
But no, Mike Tomlin is a great football coach. So, they're always going to be in the game when they have Mike Tomlin.
Trubisky played pretty well. I mean, he led the.
I was surprised. He didn't light anything up, but he just played well.
He was adequate, right?
He was better than Jacoby.
Yeah, he played better than Jacoby.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And Jacoby wasn't good.
No. So the Steelers end up beating the Bengals in overtime. Nobody picked that. So obviously, as far as our tallies go, we both picked that wrong. So
picked it wrong. I'm glad that game did end though with a winner, because if they would have got a tie, that just kind of helps both of them in terms of the AFC North battle at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, what's the division? What division are the? Who was it that tied this week?
The AFC South. There was
not a single winner.
Not a single winner.
Two teams played each other. There was not a single winner.
This is a bad job out of them.
Yeah. So no, the Ravens. Me and Kenny. I think everybody, the whole world, knew that was going to be a snoozer. The Jets managed to keep it close for a half, but the Ravens really ran away with it. So
yeah, too much firepower in Baltimore. Lamar
and too much suck in New York.
Lamar played well. And way too much stock in New York, which we'll get into here in a moment. But quick note about the Ravens-Jets game. I'm in like a survivor's pool.
Yeah.
And I was like, clearly the Jets are going to lose week 1. They're the worst. I thought it was a loser's pool. And so I picked the Jets to lose. I was like, yeah, this is great. And I get a text this morning from the group, and they say, half of the league is out after week 1. It was a wacky week 1. And I was like, let me check the standings and see which poor bastards got cut. It's a winner's league. It's a winner's pool. I was like, guys, I swear I didn't pick the Jets to win. Why would I pick the Jets to win? It's the most easily, and they were like,
feels bad.
Thanks for your donation, bud.
It feels bad. Out after week 1. At least you don't have to pay attention anymore,
I guess so.
But, we have a podcast, so you should probably pay attention.
So, tally for week 1. I'm in the hole.
Basically, you suck.
1-2. Ronnie's up 2-1.
I'm a genius.
Because I also picked the Browns to lose. Which I'm happy to be wrong about, by the way.
But you're still an idiot. So, let's get into a quick revenue break here. That'll do it for the week 1 wrap-up. So we'll get into a revenue break.
Advertisements.
Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio. Located in Akron and family-owned, Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth award-winning premium vodka, a small batch silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and make sure to ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, small batch, local, and family owned.
Towpath Distillery, get some.
Get some. All right, now that we made our revenue, let's move on to the week 2 preview. So we're going to start here with opposition research.
Opposition research.
All right, so the matchup preview here. Obviously, we're playing the Jets.
The goddamn Jets.
The
goddamn Jets. Oh, man, I hate them.
You probably have to...
I don't know. I don't care about the Jets.
Edit that. I don't care about the Jets.
Yeah, so let's get into this here. We'll do some position matchups first.
No, we won't.
Oh, we won't. I'm actually going to send it over to our resident historian, Kenny Thunder, for some info, some opposition research on the Jets.
Just no one even knows what you're talking about anymore.
Not right.
All right, so just recap real quick. Jets, Ravens. Jets get blown out. Just no emotion in that game. I don't think they converted a third down until the second half. Essentially scored 3 points, garbage touchdown at the end. So what do we have in the Jets? What do we have to look forward to here? Second-year head coach Robert Saleh, 4-13 in the 2021 campaign, has called this team, quote, ridiculously young.
That sounds like code for trash.
It's code for something. I think it's code for please don't fire me after year 2. Certainly New York's a tough market to survive in. Already we've seen after week 1, Joe Flacco did not play all that well. Threw the ball
59 times.
60 times.
59 times.
So
when Joe Flacco throws the ball 59 times, you lose.
There was already a lot of conversation today about bringing in Mike White, who had some fireworks last year.
Not only conversation today, he was being cheered for in the game.
True. And Robert Saleh came out today and said there was still film to watch, and that basically all options were still on the table.
Basically a ringing endorsement for Joe Flacco.
Ringing endorsement.
And in case anyone can't recognize the sarcasm in our voice.
I did hear, I was listening to some New York radio briefly today and heard one of the hosts of a show refer to the problems with Joe Flacco just not being able to move in the pocket, that he looked like a cigar store Indian.
That bad, huh?
That bad.
So,
obviously, I think it'll be interesting to see as the week develops whether they continue to stick with Joe Flacco or if they decide to roll with Mike White. So thinking about the Jets in general, ranked dead last in 2021 in defense, allowing 397 yards a game, 29.6 points per game. So that was obviously a priority for them in the offseason.
Almost 30 points a game? I didn't realize that.
That's
bad.
It was
That's like historically bad.
Like 0-16 Browns bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so spent some time and money there in the offseason, bringing in DJ Reed from Seattle, Jordan Whitehead from Tampa Bay. Had 3 first-round picks in the 2021 draft. Spent one of those on Sauce Gardner. A little up and down in week 1. Had a big swat in the end zone on Mark Andrews early in the game, but also got burned late on a Lamar Jackson touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman. That being said, he has all the tools and looks like a player, so maybe one to keep an eye on this week. Jermaine Johnson, defensive end, 26th overall in this year's draft. Just overall a lot of youth on this team. A number of rookies playing key positions there. So that kind of rounds out, at least what they were looking to add to the defense to really bolster that for this year. But let's talk
Garrett Wilson too, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't play defense, so
true.
We're going to talk about him.
You mentioned the draft pick. I just got excited because I just like Ohio State.
Because we didn't have any draft picks.
We never have draft picks ever again.
Never again. So let's talk offense. Offensive line, I think, is one of the biggest matchups to watch this week. Certainly, we've talked at length about the Browns' defense and Miles and Jadeveon and just the havoc they can wreak on a team. Mekhi Becton went out in August. I think they brought in Dwayne Brown to shore that up, and then he got hurt. So they're now starting a rookie at left tackle, Max Mitchell, who really was the only offensive lineman that played well at all in the Ravens game.
If the stars could align any better for Myles Garrett, to start off the season for what I've predicted as a record-breaking year for Myles Garrett. I think he, in case I didn't say that last week, I believe Myles Garrett gets Defensive Player of the Year this year and breaks the sacks record.
600 sacks.
Whoa. No, I don't think he gets that many. But I do think he breaks the record, and this is a good way to start the season against 2 rookie left tackles.
Homer. Max Mitchell, as I said, played pretty well in the first week, but I think struggled as the game wore on, and not a good sign before Miles and Jadeveon show up. So Flacco just under constant pressure. Offensive line did not play well at all. They've shuffled that offensive line quite a bit. George Fant was originally slated to play left tackle. They moved him to right tackle after the injuries and after moving Max Mitchell over to left. So just a lot of shakeup there.
Yeah.
Guys that have not played together a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned the pressure on Joe Flacco. He did get sacked 3 times last week, and there was multiple QB hits and pressures.
It was ugly.
It was pretty bad.
In terms of weapons, I think you mentioned Garrett Wilson.
So the Jets wide receivers versus the Browns DBs, I think, is a good matchup to watch here.
Yeah, I might disagree with you. I don't know if this is going to be a good matchup, but they do have a couple athletes.
I say it's going to be a good matchup because,
because we should win it.
Well, we should win it, but like we talked about, there was some broken coverages last week. And really for the Jets, this is one of the only bright spots on their entire team is their wide receiving core.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, he didn't play a lot early, but got involved later in the game. Ended up with, I think, 4 catches for 52 yards. So I think they tried to get him the ball as the game went on. They realized quickly, obviously, their offense had some gaps, and they were trying to find something anywhere. And he's one of those that certainly is a tool.
You could just call Garrett Wilson a tool.
He has all the tools.
There you go.
Elijah Moore, and I'll slate this in, and I don't even know if this is the right segment, but I'll slate this in as my guy to watch this week. I think if the Jets...
It's not the right segment. Quit getting excited.
Sorry, I'm there. I'm in. I already went there, so I can't take it back now. Elijah Moore, I think, is probably their biggest weapon. Didn't have an overwhelming rookie campaign, 40 catches, 500 yards or so last year, but draws a lot of comparisons to Steve Smith, I think, just due to stature. They're both littler guys.
They didn't have an overwhelming campaign because they're the Jets.
Well, right. But
I don't know. I don't care about the Jets.
But in terms of being an athlete and having good hands, being a good route runner, I think he's one of the lone bright spots that if the Jets do accomplish anything on offense, he's going to be the beneficiary there. CJ Uzama, brought in from the Bengals this year, was looking forward to being a big part of the offense. Goose egg in week 1, not a catch.
How'd that work out for you?
Not very good.
No, but you mentioned the receivers, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and then also Corey Davis. They all had decent games, but I guess that's going to happen when your quarterback throws the ball 59 times. So
yeah. I hope they throw the ball 59 times against us.
If they're throwing the ball 59 times against the Browns,
we'll win.
I'm feeling pretty confident.
We touched on the running back battle last week a little bit. Michael Carter, Breece Hall.
I don't know why, but we did.
Because we don't care about the Jets. But
nobody cares about
nothing really to report after week 1. Michael Carter still seems to be the leader in the clubhouse in terms of their starting running back.
Which I think it got solidified a little bit more because they tried to get Breece Hall going early and he fumbled and he kind of they backed off of that.
He looked a little lost out there. He looked like a rookie in the NFL. So he did rack up 61 yards, but
not to be outdone. Michael Carter
great.
went ahead and dropped a wide open touchdown pass that literally nobody around him.
Sure did. So he averaged 6 yards a carry, which is good. Caught 7 passes out there. So he has some skills, but obviously in crunch time was not able to deliver. So I think there's...
But I think he puts up the better stats simply because he's the better pass catcher and they will be passing a lot.
Yeah. So I think some question marks around that running back room in New York. So that's kind of the offensive recap there. I think
they're not built to play from behind. So I think the game plan for the Browns is going to be the same as the game plan last week. It's going to be we got to lean on our running backs, run that clock, get up, and let our defense do their thing.
Yeah, I think and we talked a little bit about the defense already. I think that's the matchup in terms of what's another strength for the Jets is that defensive front. Well, first, Sauce Gardner, I think, is somebody to watch out for.
His name's Sauce.
Got all the sauce.
Got the sauce.
But on defense, just
who got the sauce?
Glad to have Carl Lawson back after he tore his Achilles in 2021, missed the whole season. C.J. Mosley was productive last week, led the team in tackles. Quan Alexander, former Pro Bowler, bounced around the last couple of years just due to injuries. San Francisco, New Orleans. But that defensive line has some athletes there with Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams. So that matchup in the Browns running game, I think, is going to be
luckily our offensive line
huge.
Played pretty well the first game. So I mean,
if you're looking at special teams, they have Greg the Leg, who did not play very well in week 1.
He missed some kicks. Wasn't it multiple kicks?
I think he missed a field goal attempt from 45 and missed an extra point late in the game.
So multiple kicks. So basically what we're looking at is dropped passes, missed kicks, and turnovers from the Jets in week 1, and they looked bad.
They looked really bad. Also have in my Jets notes, for some reason, Joe Burrow refused to shower after the game, just wants to sit in his own stank after turning the ball over 5 times.
Why is that in your Jets
notes? I don't know, but there it is. So
A good note.
He wants to sit in his own stank.
So for the Browns-Jets game for Week 2, this is where we talk about your player to watch. Kenny already mentioned his.
Elijah Moore.
So his is Elijah Moore. He's going with that. What do you think he does?
I
didn't think that far ahead.
No, I did. I think he's probably in the 7 to 8 catches range again for around 100 yards. And I think if they have a score on offense, I think he's the one that gets in.
Fair. So for me, my player to watch in Game 2 is actually Amari Cooper. We tried to get him involved throughout the game. It wasn't, it didn't go real well. He only had 3 catches for 17 yards in Week 1. But the Ravens were able to pass pretty easily on the Jets. So I see, even with Jacoby back there, I see Amari having a much bigger game in Week 2. I would say probably somewhere in the range of 6 to 8 catches for, I would say, just shy of 100 yards. And I'm hoping for a touchdown for him too. So
we need him.
Yeah.
We got to find a way to get him the ball. They were creative in trying to find ways to get Anthony Schwartz involved for some reason.
Yeah. Let's get creative to get Anthony Schwartz involved, but not Amari Cooper.
It doesn't have to be overly complex, right? I think you can get him involved early with some timing routes, some quick inside things. He's
Agreed.
Such a good route runner. I know they tried to force him on the out and up in the end zone on a short route early in the game, and it just didn't work. But
no. I will say that Jacoby missed him on a wide open. He
missed him.
He beat a DB bad. Like dude almost fell down.
Missed him so bad.
Just wide open, and Kobe decided, let me put some air under this one and sail it 5 yards over his head.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with Jacoby, right? I think that's just a throw he can't make.
Why? Once he's beat, you just laser it in there and say, there's nobody around him right now. Let me just throw him the ball real quick.
Moment's too big.
Jacoby. You want to keep your job. You make those plays.
He knows he's got it for the next 10 weeks. What else are we going to do?
Josh Dobbs. I'm not calling for him. But, all right, let's move on. King of the North.
King of the North.
So, the AFC North Week 2 preview and picks. Let's remind you of the tally here.
You have to let it breathe if we're going to play a sounder. King of the North.
Just cut it and then go.
It's easier if you just let it breathe.
All right, well, now you have to cut all this out.
No, I'm going to keep it in there. I'm just letting you know that we have to pause.
You can't keep all this in there.
In order to play a sounder. Oh, it's staying in. It's fine.
You're the worst. So the AFC North Week 2 preview and picks here.
Still didn't let it breathe. All right, we're good now.
The AFC North Week 2 preview and picks. Let's remind everybody of the tally. I'm up. I'm 2-1. Kenny's 1-2.
Worst friend I ever had.
So, predictions for this week. Miami at Baltimore. So, Baltimore looked good against a really bad Jets team.
Really bad.
Really bad.
And Miami looked good against a New England team that I'm not sure what to make of yet.
I think they're overrated, but, it is what it is. So
it's just one of those things, though, right? Like, you can't. Can you overrate Bill Belichick at any point? Because it's almost like
it's back to the Mike Tomlin conversation. He's just a really good coach.
It's almost like the Tom Brady thing, right? Like, for years I hated Tom Brady because he was so good, and after 7 Super Bowls, I'm just like, I don't know. He just does
so
things.
Happy that we got to watch it all.
He just does things that I can't explain.
It doesn't make sense. But Baltimore did look pretty good against a really bad Jets team. Lamar's betting on himself. It was reported this week that he turned down a $250 million for 5 years extension with $135 million guaranteed.
Yeah, but that was $100 million less guaranteed than he wanted.
That's true. A funny note on this, too, in his post-game presser, they were asking him about the contract, and he started to get into details, and they asked him, they said, we heard you turn down a guaranteed contract. He said, guarantees? I didn't turn down a guarantees. The rep for the Ravens came in and swept them away real fast before they could get into details.
What are they waiting for? Right? Like,
I don't know.
He's a former NFL MVP of the league.
Yep.
He's young. They've built their whole offense around him. I know there's always going to be a concern with injury with him, but what else are they gonna do? Are you gonna let him walk and start over with someone else?
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm actually not a huge believer in Lamar long term, but he's already done it longer than I predicted he would. So
right.
At this point, who else are you going to get that's better? He's proven, like you said, he's a former MVP. He puts up stats.
They're just waiting for
every time people tell him he can't pass, he goes and pops off for 450 yards. So
they're just going to wait for Archie Manning.
That's a bad plan, if you ask me. That's a bad plan. Good pedigree, though.
Pedigree. Dog food.
Yeah. So, who do you got in Miami, Baltimore?
Miami, Baltimore. Look, I think Miami, new coach, Tua played pretty well.
Tua Tagovailoa.
I can't say his name.
Nobody can.
Tagovailoa.
You should have heard him on the broadcast yesterday. It was my favorite part. Every time they said his name, it was something different.
Tyreek showed out, played pretty well in that offense yesterday.
He did. Well, Tagovailoa is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, according to Tyreek. So
I think this is going to be one of the better games of the week, and I'm really interested to see how it plays out. I'm going to go Baltimore here, as much as I don't want to. I do think Miami is much improved. I do think they're going to make some noise this year, but I think there's more cohesion in Baltimore. I think Lamar played really well in week 1, and I think that defense is probably better than Miami's defense at the end of the day. Baltimore.
All right. Well, for me, like we talked about, Baltimore looked good against a bad Jets team. Lamar's betting on himself right now. But that Jets team is bad. Their defense was trash.
They were bad.
And Miami's defense is much, much better. So I think Miami's defense is too much in this one, and I've got Miami. Sorry, Baltimore.
Split again.
It's going to get interesting quick.
New England at Pittsburgh.
This is, I want to say it's interesting, but to me it's really not. For me, here's the deal. Pittsburgh did take out Cincinnati. New England looked pretty defeated in week 1 against a pretty stout Miami defense. I mean, they didn't look good. But TJ Watt and Najee Harris just got hurt, and they're definitely missing this game, so I think New England wins it pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I don't think Bill Belichick can afford to start 0-2. I think he really, really wanted that game in Miami because they've had so much difficulty in Miami over the last couple of years, and they went down like a full week early. Like usually they travel a day or two before the game. They went down on like Tuesday and spent the entire week in Miami and still lost. So I have to imagine that locker room is absolute hell. So I have New England.
You just don't take losses like that under Bill Belichick and not bounce back because he's in there ripping every single one of you a new one.
No, and I think it's the NFL, and I think we see week to week desperate teams just play harder. And I know it's week 1, but I'm telling you that New England team is...
It's the only league where every single game matters.
And Bill Belichick knows that more than anyone.
He does. So, Bengals at Dallas. What do you got?
Did you watch that Sunday night game?
Oh.
Man, Dallas looked bad.
Real bad.
Really, really bad.
Real bad.
Yeah, that Dallas team looked bad. Missing some receivers. I don't know what happened to Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott was...
He does that sometimes.
Ohio State guy, one of those like, hey, one of your favorite players, just because he's
got a personality and he's fun to watch and
he's Zeke,
He jumped into a pot one time.
He had that super cool helmet on.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but he looked like a VR trooper.
Yeah.
Or a Power Ranger.
He jumped into the Salvation Army pot.
Yeah.
It was great.
But that was back when he was good. Because now he looks bad.
Basically non-existent.
Father time has caught up with him. I don't know if he's just disinterested.
I think he probably eats too much.
They were saying that in camp and in the offseason that he came in, was focused, and was working out a lot, and was in great shape, and all the stuff, that he was fast. And I didn't see it last night.
Well, he's really going to have to focus up now because Dak Prescott went down too and needs thumb surgery. So.
Yeah, he's going to be out a while, so I would guess that means Cooper Rush is your quarterback for a while. And Cooper Rush played well in the one game he's played in outside of last night. But I think they're bad on offense. They're bad on defense. CD Lamb and Dalton Schultz are good players, but they're going to need more than those two guys to mount anything this year. And they just looked ugly last night. So I'm going, even though Joe Burrow turned the ball over 5 times and was handing out cherry pie turnovers like it was his job.
You get a turnover and you get a turnover.
I think the Bengals bounce back in week 1.
Yeah,
week two. I'm drunk.
He's drunk.
Towpath.
Quit drinking the towpath on the job. I agree 100%. Joey B threw 4 picks. He fumbled the ball twice, gave 1 over. The Bengals played poorly, but Dallas is garbage, man. And especially with that going out, I mean that was their lone bright spot, right? They don't got him anymore. I think the Bengals win in a snoozer. It might get ugly for who we talking about for Dallas in week 2. It might get pretty ugly for them. So
smart.
All right, on to the game.
King of the North.
For the Jets versus the Browns.
Who you got?
Who do I got?
That's what I said. Do you need me to repeat it?
Please.
Who do you got?
All right, so Myles Garrett and company continue to get pressure and sacks while manhandling the Jets O-line in this one. That rookie left tackle he's going to have a long day. The running backs continue to dominate and do what they do. And the Jets are also trash. So I've got the Browns winning easy 24-13. And I'm being generous with that 13 for the Jets.
The Jets aren't good.
No. They are not.
Look, I know it's the NFL, and I know week to week anything can happen. Certainly we're without our quarterback, and Jacoby didn't do a lot to instill confidence for this week. But I think that also rarely weeks come along where you're just clearly the better team. Our running back room is better. Our offensive line is better. Our defensive line is better. Our secondary is better. Our kicker is certainly better. Quarterback can be a wash, and I don't think it matters. I think this is the 1 week this year that the Browns can kind of count on a win. I think they win going away. I think this is...
Don't tell them that.
I think this is a proverbial blowout. I think the Browns win this game 31-6, 31-10.
Whoa.
I think that it's the one game that we all kind of go, okay, there's something maybe here. But I think it's just because the Jets are so bad. I don't think it's going to be even a reflection of how good the Browns are. I think it's just the Jets are bad.
Yep. All right, so we've got the Miami-Baltimore game split. We both got New England against Pittsburgh. We both got the Bengals against Dallas, and we both have the Browns against the Jets. So that'll do it for the Week 2 preview. And before we get into the closing, let's go ahead and do one more quick ad read here. Got to make some money.
Advertisements.
Towpath Gin. Towpath Gin is a true craft American gin made in its own style. A blend of 9 botanicals brings a moderate amount of juniper with a citrus backbone. Layers of 7 other botanicals shine through for this incredibly well-balanced and high-quality small batch.
Gin?
Gin.
Is that does it taste like pine needles?
A lot of gins do. This one actually doesn't. This one's real good. I've had it. It's good.
No aftertaste like pine. Like I ate a Christmas tree.
I hate gin typically, and this is good. I would drink it. I do drink it.
Towpath.
Get some. All right. So for the land here. Let's take it around and we'll talk about some of the other Cleveland teams. The Guardians, still in first place. Been playing much better.
Woot woot.
All dubs this weekend, in case anyone was wondering.
You played Minnesota, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, they went all dubs this weekend. Guardians went 3-0. The Buckeyes won, and the Browns won as well.
So. Oh, the Buckeyes now. This is a Cleveland podcast. We're doing college football. Are we doing Akron scores?
No.
Toledo scores?
No.
Kent State?
No.
Bowling Green?
No.
Just Ohio State?
Yep.
Okay.
I had to throw them in there. We love the Buckeyes.
I like the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
I don't like the Jets.
For the Cavs, still got Donovan Mitchell.
Still have him, baby.
Still got him.
Still there.
We're ready to compete.
Getting ready for the preseason.
Let's go. All right, so let's close this thing out here. What to expect next week? What do we got for him, Kenny?
We'll do the same thing next week. Jets-Browns recap, and then we will preview our Cleveland at Yinzer Pittsburgh matchup. Hopefully Pittsburgh gets beat up pretty good this week, and we can look forward to another blowout.
We can all get on board with that.
I'm in.
So social media, don't forget to check out Tap In Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at the Tap In Media, except for Instagram. It's Tap In Media Official. And then Burning River Sportscast, that's us.
Burning River.
We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all at Burning River Sportscast. You can also find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more. We're adding them all the time. All right, I think that's it, man.
I think
we lost.
I think this is going all right. Yeah. So, if you listened, give us a shout on all those social medias that Brownie just talked about. Like, share, subscribe.
Do those things.
All those things. One thing you shouldn't do is don't just be a part of the problem. Be the whole problem.
And don't forget, only you can prevent river fires.
Burning River!
Burning River!
Burning River!